intro.
QH.
Ka-chow.
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 Okay, seriously, let's start real.
Maybe that was the real one.
No, it wasn't the real.
We'll see.
That would be kind of fun. We should try that.
That was
the
the
pause.
opener.
Okay, let's
long
redo
enough.
it then. There's Let's redo it.
No, we're not.
Please,
No, I don't
come
want to do
on,
that.
Okay,
Cool.
everyone's silent. I think that was the first time in Waple's history, and we caught it on camera, that we were all silent at one
Okay,
point
this is
in time.
Gavin Waples.
What's your name?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so for those of you on the podcast, I better start this video.
Yes.
For the first time in Breaking Woke history, we have a live studio audience
Yes, we have an audience over there.
right over there. And you can see our whole setup, but there's our crew.
My head right in the center of it.
And now you can hear them, too.
Stop pushing the button.
We
Gavin.
finally let them out of the basement.
Yeah. So since she wouldn't do it,
I'm Gavin Waples,
I'm Pep Waples
and we are shifting culture.
and Breaking Woke.
Ka-chow!
The Spirit of the Lord says, do you feel the winds of change? For I am releasing my hand, my anointing, that shall break the yoke of woke.
Isn't that kind of like the
Yeah. That,
tomato?
yeah.
Yeah, like tomato,
yeah,
but without the tuh.
I'm the best backward.
Is that what you did it by?
What?
Oh, Lightning McQueen. That's the guy who did
Yeah,
that.
that's Lightning McQueen.
Is that why you're doing that?
Tomater's
Yeah.
the one
I was
who's
actually doing it because Logan made the
Yeah, but I
joke
couldn't
earlier.
remember where the-
I had to give him a little credit for that one. That was funny.
Funny.
Very serious episode. Very demure.
Oh my goodness.
I hate that word though. Anyways,
That's beyond my vocabulary. Demure.
I think it's an old word that Gen
You
Z
look at the
tried to
mirror
bring
every
back.
morning.
Wait, you have that?
There's a
You
mantra.
have that?
Which one is it?
The wah wah
No, it's the
wah.
blue, I think.
Singing birds.
Blue.
No,
That was so
should have been the
lame.
other one.
So bad.
That is
No.
not.
No.
Oh my gosh.
putting these
This is a
people through
great intro.
I think that's what you were
To
thinking
our
about.
podcast.
That's the one. That's the
I don't have these
one.
buttons memorized, people. I'm sorry.
You should
Yeah.
label them, actually.
Well, they
They
are
are.
labeled, but I couldn't see from here because it's too small.
Need glasses?
He
Crickets.
crosses his eyes.
Okay.
Oh man.
So today's episode, dipping our toe into Ishtar.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that sounded bad.
That was our audience, if you couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
okay. Dipping our
so into the
into
waters
Ishtar's face.
of understanding who Ishtar is.
Yeah, sure.
Maneuvers, behaviors, all that kind of
How to
thing.
recognize it.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this, because the Bible says that my people are destroyed for a lack of what?
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
Knowing things.
Knowing things. And so now we're getting to know some things about who our enemy is. And so now that we know who our enemy is, we can do some things to actually get rid of our enemy. What am I missing?
Mom's laughing at the audience.
At the audience. Oh, that's all right. We know what we should do is just put clips in here once in a while. Just turn the camera around so there's our audience.
We should have set up a
I have
third
my phone.
camera.
I
Should've set
could
up a third camera, yeah.
record them.
Yeah.
It'd be a better. They
Now they're
hide.
hiding, and all of a sudden we're going to hear a crash in the background because the lights are out and they can't see what they're running
Oh,
into.
they're over there.
Oh, the main light's just gonna fall, and we're gonna get a weird angle.
So anyway, we are gaining some knowledge about the enemy that we face, and Ishtar is one of them. We've just barely started into talking about Ishtar. You know, before we were talking about Baal and how Baal, basically the primary job of Baal is to get a society and a people to fall away from God, get away from the knowledge of God, get away from anything that God does. He tries to pull them away through deception, through promise of wealth, through success, all kinds of things. But that is so that they would let down their guard, and then that would lead then into Ishtar. And so here's what I want to read just a couple of things to open this episode in regard to Ishtar, so you know that when we talk about it, the subject matter is because of what Ishtar does in the society. and that's why we're covering this. So anyway, it says the gods, this is talking about Ishtar, the dark trinity, Baal, Ishtar, and Moloch, but it says the gods could only return if there had been a falling away from the Christian faith and a biblical worldview, and that is the job of Baal. He takes people away from our Christian God and a biblical worldview, how we see society, which means is how we behave in society, how we behave toward others, how, we basically it's replacing faith and walking things out. When God says to do something, now we just do it our own way.
Right. And as we've established from all of our previous episodes, we are clearly already there.
Right. Yeah, we are deep into it. The society is, Baal, Ishtar, and Moloch have basically camped out. They're in occupation mode. And so now, if we can start seeing who they are, we can start driving them from the society through the behaviors that are changed.
And I've talked to some people, and they're like, they love the episode and they're whatever, but especially in the last couple of weeks, I've heard a lot of people talking about, well, when you're going to go back to like what the gods are about, what about Ishtar, what about Moloch? We haven't heard anything, and so now we're kicking you off with some Ishtar.
It's funny that they say that, because really everything that we've talked about is the influence of this deity, these three, the Trinity, this dark Trinity. All the previous episodes we've talked some things. It's behaviors that have been inputted because of the influence of this dark Trinity. So it's interesting that people say that. I guess I haven't heard that. So
yeah.
Well, here we are. We're back into talking about Ishtar now. Mm-hmm. So here's another thing about Ishtar. There's a couple things I'll read here. Let's see here. It says here, Ishtar, she was the goddess of sexuality. It was because that connection that the planet Venus is associated with love. She was also the goddess of war and destruction. She was fiery, impetuous, impulsive, greedy, emotional, demanding, stormy, fierce, carnal, given to rage, romantic, vindictive, full of unbridled passion, insatiable sexual desire, and boundless pride. So when you think about those characteristics, you have to think about when you look into, okay, we mentioned this before, and we kind of brought her up before, which I hate doing this, but how the Haktua girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is behavior. If you look,
Mom looks confused.
Yeah, I don't know who she is either. I was off of social media for months.
Okay.
Well,
Instagram. She's all over Instagram. She's gotten famous now. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm sure most of you Gen Z kids have heard of her by now. But if any of you have not, or any of our any of our non-Gen Z viewers have not, the Haktua girl. You may have heard the phrase, Haktua, like Haktua. Well, the reason this lady is known as the Haktua girl is she was interviewed on a street interview, like an on-the-street type social media person just walks up to you, asks you a question. Okay, the guy asks, he comes up to her and he asks her a question. What's something that you can do to a guy in bed that makes him go crazy? And she's like, you just got to spit on that thing, basically.
And that became a huge meme.
Everywhere.
Became everywhere.
There was
disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. What do we got here?
Good God.
This is unbridled passion, insatiable sexual desire, boundless pride, carnal, given, all of this.
She sounds like the Psalms woman that God is telling you to shy away from.
Yes, exactly.
Which one?
Somewhere in Proverbs.
Proverbs, yeah.
Proverbs, I don't even know. I think it's like around 14 or 15.
Yeah, she leads
Do a
down
Google
to the
search
pit.
while he
I
reads
can
that.
find it. I was just reading it the other day, and it tells you to stay away from this woman, and it's throughout the whole chapter though.
Yeah,
I'll
she
find it.
started a podcast too, I guess.
Yeah, well, not just, she got an agent. This is what's crazy about this. Now, this road for her is not going to lead to anything full of life.
No.
It says, the Bible says that sin lasts for a season, and it's fun for a season, but its way is the end of death. So even though she's probably at the height of popularity and she's on podcasts now, and the crazy thing is the more people talk to her, you find out how really simple she is. That's saying it nicely.
Yeah.
She's not very intelligent.
No, I watched this guy.
The comment alone would show you that.
Right, but the more you listen to her talk about other things on other, because they do clips of her now on other podcasts, and the interviews are just stupid. But anyway, so that gives you an example of the results of Ishtar in this society.
Yeah.
It's just gone off the rails. When you get away from God, especially in this area, That's what you get. So anyway, I'm going to read a couple more things here, and then we'll get into some other things I know we'll go into. Let's see here. Lost it. Oh, yeah,
yeah.
at the
You
bottom.
found it?
It's Proverbs 5.
Okay, read it.
Avoiding the whole thing.
We'll read the
Sorry
pertinent
about
part.
Somewhere you need to be.
No, it's an alarm.
I noticed.
Right, pull your mic up a little bit.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just read
Okay,
the scripture
so
you're
it
talking about.
says, "My son, pay attention to my wisdom, listen carefully to my wise counsel."
Slow down a little bit. I can't hear
Well,
you.
that's not the right spot. Okay. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to earth, her steps lead straight to the grave. For she cares nothing about the path of life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. That's not exactly what I was thinking.
But it is true. Anyone it has that kind of mentality, it's not going to lead to life in your relationships. It's not going to lead to life in your marriage. It's going to lead to death in all of those areas.
Right.
It's going to be hell on earth.
Right.
And throughout this, it talks it leads off on other things, but it talks about promiscuous women and to stay away from them and describing what it looks like.
Right. And that's Ishtar.
Yeah.
So here we have the connection between Baal and Ishtar. That's what I wanted to read. Baal represented the nations turning away from God and to the physical and material, Let me reread that. So Baal represented the nations turning away from God and to the physical, the material, the carnal, and the sensual. It was this that opened the door to the entrance of Ashtaroth or Ishtar. Ashtaroth is
Another name.
Another name, but it's basically multiple Ishtars. It's like multiple gods of the same person. It opened the door to unbridled sexuality, licentiousness, and decadence, which is just basically everything goes south.
Got it.
In regard
That was
to
a big word for me.
right, decadence is just it's a loss of all morality. Everything's gone. Anything goes. It's just how you live. It doesn't matter how you dress. So Baal, that was kind of his job, was to get people into that thought pattern. So now Ishtar can come in and start bringing in her influence.
Which is funny because, you talk about the transition from Baal to Ishtar and just the connection there. We've talked about a lot of how Baal is influence in business and in your job, making money, your career and stuff, getting people to lose sight of God and God's values of, family and turning more towards materialistic things like getting a nice house, a boat, getting all your kids the best gifts for Christmas and all that stuff. But then you also think, in the transition to Ishtar, now businesses are using sexuality in their advertising to get more business. They're drawing on that sensuality for profit and all that,
And that's what we really want to talk about today is I brought this up because we want to touch on modesty. And one of the things that hit me when we were getting ready for this episode, is in Genesis you had Adam and Eve. It says they were naked and unashamed. And, this thought hit me today about that is because their relationship was pure and they were covered in the glory of God. So, when you get a society to move away from God, the glory of God leaves. Mm-hmm. So, modesty is not about covering up. It's about revealing of the glory of God. So modesty is not necessarily the clothes that you wear, but it is letting the glory of God be what you wear. It's letting the glory of God make you shine better, And so, go ahead, Riley.
That's still though that is true, but it also doesn't excuse you as a lady or even as a man wearing promiscuous clothing
Right.
or wearing the crop tops or showing your
Right.
butt off or your boobs off. Doesn't excuse that.
No, that is the act. That's actually
Includes
the
that.
what?
It includes that.
Right.
Includes not that, rather.
It includes the covering of God's glory will cause you to cover as well,
Right.
naturally.
Right.
Because if you expose yourself, that is the absence of glory. I guess is what I'm trying to say. When you just let your body be seen, it's the absence of the glory of God.
Right, because what was made as man, woman, and God now is woman, any man, and no God, basically.
Right.
What is meant to be valuable because it was only within that confined group of your husband, your wife, and God himself. But then when you put it on display, it is letting anybody and everybody have access to something that is only meant for one person.
And what we covered before, a little bit on this, is when, the worship and serving of Baal, we've covered that about materialistic things. Well, the worship and service to Ishtar has everything to do with sexuality. So the service to Ishtar really is how much you expose your body. When you expose yourself for sensual reason, you are in service to Ishtar. That's her influence. That's what she's doing. So now when you're advertising, now I'm just talking from the guy's perspective, but when a girl advertises her body, it is for sensual or sexual purpose.
Mm-hmm. And not every girl sees it that way, but that's what you are here to learn. Because some people think that it's to show power, or it's because they want to not feel insecure. And also, real quick, men, don't tune out of, I would advise you not to tune out, because
and I would concur.
Because it's not just about dressing modestly. It's also about, because if you're a guy looking for a woman, you don't want to pick someone who's going to dress however they want and show off their body when that's something only that's only something their husband should see. And so if you're looking for a lady and she dresses however she wants, that's not exactly something you should want as a godly man. Right.
That is a red flag immediately off the bat, because it shows where her values are, and it's less in what God's value is as a wife, and more as someone who needs security and pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you just said a minute ago, Riley, was how it shows they're fierce. They're what did you use? Powerful. Okay, look at what. Again, you go back to Ishtar. She was fiery, impulsive, greedy, demanding, fierce, stormy, vindictive, aggressive. She's actually the goddess of war. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she'll have a mentality of defeating the man.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Conquering the man.
Yeah.
Which is another warning sign for you guys. Because I know this is probably something we'll get into in more episodes, but Ishtar wages a war on masculinity, because she wants to completely flip the order of God, because, God establishes man as the head of the home. And what Ishtar tries to do is she supplants the man and says, the woman makes the decisions, the woman is the head of the house. And when you see, evidence of Ishtar, flee.
Exactly. You'll know if you see a girl right now. Okay, guys, if you're going to the bar right now and you see these girls, this is who they are. This is, whether you like it or not. They might have a nice personality, they might be funny, but they are carrying the influence of Ishtar, which means they are going to be war against man, war against the masculinity. They're going to be fiery, vindictive. Now, that being said, too, there are personalities of women in the godly atmosphere that are godly, that have those traits, but they know how to bridle them with the glory of God. Does that make sense? I made no sense today.
Not really, not to me at least.
So we have Ishtar, who's fiery, and because people have been drawn away from God. So now anything goes. She's got a fiery attitude. She's vindictive. She's impulsive.
Right,
all of that.
right.
Okay, so you got now someone who's been saved. What I'm trying to say is, if a woman is fiery and a Christian, that's different. That's not the same person.
Yeah, because I am a fiery Christian woman.
Yes. Yes. So that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. There are personality traits about women that, oh, well, she's fiery, she's not a Christian. No, that's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to say women need to be held under thumb, if you've got a fiery personality. That's not it at all.
Right.
It's different when they're fiery for God and fiery for the stance that they have. And there's a difference between that and being like, you know what, I'm a woman, I have power over you. Your men have tried to minuscule us for years, and we're not taking that anymore.
Right.
There's a difference between women empowerment and empowering women.
Right.
You
Which
can be
is the whole point of Empowered Women's Conference, right, Mom?
Exactly.
You can be a fiery and fierce Proverbs 31 woman.
I don't think fiery. There's a difference because, I mean, I know we're coming from one angle, but they are, usually once you've yielded to this influence, you see the residue of that.
Right.
And you can tell a difference between somebody who is a look but don't touch, or somebody who is the whole thing is to grasp the look.
Right.
And that is a control with the body.
Can you put that into layman's terms for me?
It's basic. I don't know. I guess I don't know how. I think I know what you mean.
Okay, try explain.
Like,
for me.
there's some women who dress to they dress with confidence and they have confidence and they're like, you can look at me, but you're not touching me, because they're dressed modestly. They're dressed for a purpose.
Flattering, but not.
Yes, they're dressed very pretty, but not promiscuous. And then there's women who dress in the crop tops and they're looking to have the gaze. They're looking to you can look at me and maybe you can touch me.
Well, now it's all about the body count. Mm-hmm. They're not just looking. They want the look so they can have the number. They want that body count.
And the body count's not just for the males anymore.
Right.
It's also for the females.
Which now goes back to a conquering spirit, which is Ishtar.
This may sound like a lot of up, down, and through the corner, but I think that is part of the design of these gods. Is everything is interwoven it's overlapping, and it's meant so that you can't see your way through or out, But I think what we're just trying to do is help you see some of the pathways, so you can duck, dive, and weave, and avoid these pitfalls that get people ensnared and trapped in this lifestyle. Because it is a trap. It may feel like wearing a certain type of clothing or making you having a certain kind of attitude, whatever. It may feel empowering, or it may feel somewhat freeing, you might say, but it is an illusion, and it only will last for a season.
Well, here's what we're doing. Here's a contrast. All right. So Ishtar, you kind of described a little bit. What we're talking about now basically is a virtuous woman. When we're talking about modesty and even dress, so here's what Proverbs 31:10 says. It says, "Who can find a virtuous wife? Her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her. So he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of his life." And so what we're trying to say here is you can recognize the difference between a virtuous woman and one who's out there dressing promiscuously and says, "I'm a Christian." Because those women are out there. They're all over the videos. There's videos all over Instagram. There was one I saw the other, just came up. This caption says, "I am a Christian." And it was this girl half dressed dancing around. The next one says, "You can't say I'm not a Christian. I am a Christian." Now she's obviously, maybe she is a Christian, but she's carnal. And if she keeps her behaviors, it's not going to be a virtuous woman. If she stays on that track, it's not going to be virtuous. And as a husband, you're not going to be able to safely trust her. You can't.
Yeah.
She's not virtuous. She's not practicing the virtuous part of her Christian life if she is a Christian.
Yeah. And what they need to understand is they represent. You call yourself yes, you may believe in God and you love God and you're a Christian, but you represent Jesus. You represent him. So as a woman and even a male, if you're dressing like that, dressing with your whole belly showing, your boobs showing, your butt showing, whatever, very now that doesn't mean you have to dress head to toe covered, but it doesn't mean you have to have your butt hanging out your shorts.
Right.
Doesn't mean or very short shorts, or it doesn't mean you have to even it bothers me because I know personally girls who will wear the crop tops like right at the edge of their pants. So as long as they don't move too much, it won't show.
Yeah.
But they do move anyway. So you got to understand is you represent Jesus Christ. So when you dress like that, it's a poor representation of what he is.
And you're supposed to be showing the glory of God, not the glory of you. Mm-hmm. Well, this is how God made me. Well, that's the glory of you.
Yep. And can I read this?
Yeah, read it.
It's 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20. It says, "Don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit? He lives in you and was given to you by God. You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price, so you must honor God with your body."
Yes.
I think that speaks for
Boom.
itself.
Drop the mic.
And notice it doesn't say honor God with your spirit, honor God with your soul. It says honor God with your body. Your body's important in honoring. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we're talking lots of different ways, and I know Ishtar and all those things obviously play a key role in the culture where we're at, but I truly believe modesty comes and stems from immodesty. Immodesty
Okay.
stems from a place of being insecure because you have no self-worth or limited, and so you get your self-worth from other people's opinions. If they think you're hot, you feel good about yourself. If they don't, maybe they like your friend over you, well, now you don't feel good about yourself. And there's a lot of stuff with immodesty and modesty. Modesty, like you said, is more of a condition of the heart than it even is of the clothes. Because in listening to all of these, studying on this and listening to a little bit of stuff on this and where people are at, it is amazing to me that people don't talk about modesty, and there's a wide variety of what modesty looks like to people.
Yeah, that's true. Some people, like, wearing a crop top wouldn't be, like, they're like, I'm not showing anything. I'm fine, Or they're, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so, or the opposite is, I've found out, if you want, by most people's standards, I'm incredibly immodest.
Same here.
Why? Because I wear too much makeup. I wear too much jewelry. I like sparkle. That's too much.
Or you wear a tank top in church.
No,
Not spaghetti straps, but like even just, I've had people come up to me, they're scared to take off like their shawl because they're wearing a tank top. And it's not like a spaghetti strap, it's fine. It doesn't show anything. Mm-hmm. But they're like, it's inappropriate.
See, and I think it's classy the way you guys dress.
But the point is it's all in the eye of the beholder. So where is it? Where is to me, where's the line? And the reality is you have an audience of one.
Right.
And there are some things that the word is clear on, and there are things, once you know naturally, I use these pictures. There was a little book that I used to have on modesty, and I cannot find this book. But basically, one of the things that really spoke to me, and I've even talked with Riley and stuff about this, and I've got two pictures here, and I guess if you're listening on podcast, you're not going to be able to see what it is. But one of the pictures is basically parts of a flower, if you will. Like you can tell, I don't know if you call that, it's just
Circles and half circles.
Yes, but when you look at it, what do you see?
Flower.
You see a flower, and the reality is, then the other picture.
Yeah, you can see the whole thing. Like if I look at that, even though the stem is not there,
the leaves are not
and
there.
half
Half
the
the petals
flower.
aren't there.
Yeah, I can see it.
You look at it, and you can see the entire flower. Flip side with this. When you look at this, what it is, it looks like three little Pac-Man on a piece of paper, but when you look at it, how they're placed, you can see a what?
Triangle.
You can see a triangle. And what ministered in this little book that I read, what they said was that is exactly when you dress immodestly what you do, because naturally your mind will complete a picture. That's why it's actually more sexually motivated for a male to see a half-dressed woman than the actual naked woman has actually more of a turn-off than a partially dressed woman, because with your partially dressed, they get to complete the picture. So being partial, when you show cleavage, or when you show your back, or you show your belly, or you show different parts of your body, what you're doing is your leggings that are super tight. That's a big deal.
Oh, that is a huge pet peeve of mine.
I know.
today,
especially at like Starbucks. Oh my gosh, I see so many women, and it's not even like they won't be wearing a crop top or nothing. Like but the whole like
the yoga pants,
pants, and the fact that like that's your only anything.
That's your only outfit. Why don't you just spray on a little bit of paint and walk outside? That's
Literally, it looks like you just painted your skin, or the denim that is like not jeans. It's like basic.
Spandex.
It is spandex. You know, like you literally just painted your legs.
Sorry, go ahead, continue.
So the point is it doesn't take much of the imagination to figure out what that looks like with them off.
Well, half the time they tuck their shirt in their back when they wear leggings, or they tuck their like shirt or sweatshirt over their butt. So it's like they literally purposefully put their butt out.
Yeah.
So the reality is, like, when you look even at magazines, you don't typically, even on pornographic magazines, the first picture typically isn't a full naked male or a full naked female. It's partially naked. That's what causes you to want the magazine. Because you're completing, your mind instantly and completes the picture. And some of people are like, well, great, then I'm doing, whatever, you're not seeing anything, it's all in your imagination. But the reality is this: you're giving access to any pervert, whether they're 13 or they're 85. It doesn't matter, because you don't get to control who creates the picture,
right?
Because you're giving them the canvas. You might be trying to attract the 17-year-old or the 22-year-old, but the fact is you've given a canvas for any person, no matter the gamut, to complete that picture and to have an image of what you look like naked, simply because you gave just a peep, like it felt sexual, it felt sexy, and that's what we think it's sexy, and and even the world says if you dress sexy, that's what confidence looks like.
Not true.
And culture also says that if you dress modest, that means you're insecure, you're traditional, or you're religious. It's all this mentality that is not accurate, but that's painted this picture. And I remember even when Riley, I told Pep when we were, she was young. And I did proms and co-eds when I went through school and high school. And I'm like, listen, we're going to have proms and co-eds. And I'm like, just so you know, we're going to spend some money on a dress. Because I'm like, modest can be absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it doesn't give, I have watched some, these are high school girls, and their slit is clear up. I mean, it does not take much to complete that picture. Let me tell you, their cleavage shot is dropped. Their back is way low, like you can't. I don't know how they're wearing underwear, to be honest. They're definitely not wearing a bra. And so that means your hands are on. All of the things that the world produces and says is confident and sexy, and that's what you need to look like, is completely flipped from what the word says, because the word says to prefer one another. Yeah. And if I'm going to prefer, like, you think about that, they're my brothers and sisters in Christ. I don't want my brother looking at me like that way. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. Yeah. That's disgusting. But the fact is there was in that little book that I can't remember what it was called, so I don't even want to bring it up. But my point is, it's not my book. This is not my insight. But they talked about bands, Christian bands, boy bands, they would actually monitor the front row, because these girls would come and they'd be skimpy dressed, and they would say, please, and they would plead with the girls, please don't dress that way, because it's hard for us to not complete the picture. It's hard for us to actually take you to where we need to take you because of what you're presenting. And they would actually have people monitoring who would be allowed to sit in the front, because that would distract them. Mm-hmm. So you're not preferred. The thing is when you're insecure, you're completely thinking of self. You're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about anybody else, about how you look, how you feel, how confident, what you want to look like, what you want to feel like, and you're not thinking about what it's doing to somebody else that could cause them to stumble, cause them to mess up. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know where people have been at, mm-hmm. and it's just an ungodly thing to do. Based out of my personal opinion, it's based out of insecure, because you need someone to think you're hot in order for you to be secure in yourself.
Yeah. Well, I can speak from personal experience about that, because I used to be incredibly insecure, especially about how I looked. So like at home, mom wouldn't care. Like I would wear I'd wear a crop top at home, and even then I'm at home basically by myself, and I'd still I'd feel insecure thinking that it won't, like, it'll make
It
me
was
feel
part of your jammas. It wasn't like you were outgoing places.
right. Hold on.
Breathing is important.
Yes, very. I'd like to live. But even like wearing leggings and stuff, I feel insecure if I feel like my sweatshirt might be slightly shorter than it should be. So I'm always making sure I wear a longer sweatshirt or a long t-shirt to cover my butt, and because I feel more insecure. And now I'm very I have a lot of confidence in who I am and what I look like. I don't. Anyways, and so I dress modestly, and I feel more confident when I dress like that than when I wear leggings, and I feel like I'm always constantly pulling on my shirt, making sure it's long enough, constantly feeling insecure about how I'm looking because I feel like I could be showing too much, or maybe it's just whatever. I feel more insecure when I dress that way than when I dress modestly.
Yeah.
Because I'm not constantly checking to make sure I'm not showing too much or whatever. Like, there's just no point.
Well, you know what it kind of reminds me of? Like the modest dressing versus the immodest, versus the modest dressing and the classy versus the insecurity and all that. It kind of reminds me of like movies, because like movies is my language, so maybe it's your language and you can hear it. But like you take the Transformers movies, right? They're full of a lot of explosions. They're full of a lot, like Megan Fox was a big deal when
She
it was the first
reason
thing.
why most people watch the
Fancy
movie.
cars, real masculine type things. Again, a lot of explosions, a lot of fighting. Big robot, make big punch, make big boom. The obvious. It's true. It appeals. It appeals to the basic male fantasy, right? So obviously, it did well when it like first started out. But they don't put a lot of effort into storyline. They don't, whatever. And to me, like Transformers appeals to the lowest common denominator of moviegoer. Now, that's not saying if you watch Transformers that you are stupid. I'm just saying, of course you like Transformers because anybody would like Transformers, right? But then you take something like Lord of the Rings, for example, where there's never a sex scene. I don't know if there's even any kissing or anything like that in it. There's still a lot of action. There's some elements that are the same as Transformers, but they spend a lot more time on the storytelling and on like the characters and the world building, and people love it. People love Lord of the Rings, and it's actually lasted a lot longer than the Transformers movies. And the 6, I'm not counting the Rings of Power stuff, but the 6 movies that came out of Lord of the Rings are iconic and have won some teen Emmys or whatever the award is. And Transformers has 9 movies. I don't know if they've ever even been nominated, Point, no matter any guy, yeah, they're going to want to see something like that. That's the flesh side of it, okay? Obviously, you're appealing to the lowest common denominator here. But if you want to appeal to someone with class, if you want to appeal to someone who's looking for the glory of God in you, then not just covering up, but wearing something that is showing up to church in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, or a yoga pants and a crop top, whatever. It's not going to attract the kind of male that's looking for a godly wife, and even the same backwards for men, If you're just showing up in your gray sweatpants or your messy hair and your F-boy haircut, whatever, that is appealing to the lowest common denominator.
It's not appealing at all.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
well,
not to me.
you're a woman with class.
And I'm younger in the generation that should like that, and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to put some effort in how you look. If you have no effort in how you look, how am I going to know you're going to have effort in anything else?
Exactly my point.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry Savelle Foy. Brilliant quote. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been ringing through my ears every time I do something that is not the other.
Excellent.
Yes, I was coming home from Miles City the other day, and I had a burger wrapper because I was on the road eating, and I had a burger wrapper, and I tossed it onto the floor right next to me, and that phrase hit my head. And I actually kind of leaned down and I picked it up, and there was a garbage sack right here behind me, and I picked it up and put it in the garbage sack. So I'm like, that was really dumb. Why did I even do that? Anyway, how you do anything
is
how you do everything.
And it works in all areas of your life because we put a lot of emphasis on the women and how they dress, but you know what? The guys are just as guilty.
Yeah.
They take all this time in the gym to make sure that their muscles are just so, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then they wear the tightest shirts imaginable so you can see the effort
Yeah.
that they put in.
Or tight pants.
Or tight pants. Or the other thing that I seen the other day that I was actually like, wow. I can't unsee that. But there was a dude walking down the street and like legit, his pants were underneath. He had black,
Boxers.
no, that would have been better.
Well, I've seen that.
It was, it was black, like the tidy whities, but they were black. What are those called? Fruit of the Loom, whatever.
Okay.
Briefs. Thank you. And so they were black, and his pants were dark, and he literally had them. The pants were under his butt cheeks.
Oh yeah, that is a style too. Lowest common
and
denominator.
and belted on. Yeah. I'm like, when does it end? When they hit your ankles and you drag the belt? Like it was like I'm like, I now know. I now know exactly what you look like in your underwear because you just walked in front of me in your underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was the most disturbing. I'm like, how? That's cute. Like, who would give you their number? Who would do that?
Yeah.
But yet,
A relative of Ishtar.
but the reality is, you do have people that they're coming down to a place because it's focused on self. Immodesty, and again, it doesn't. And it's hard to put this is modest, this is immodest, because it really just depends. You're going to have to know. I mean, there are some things that are obviously immodest. Okay, I guess I shouldn't say it that way. But there are people that can look at us and say the same thing. You're immodest and they quote the scripture. The scripture they quote is 1 Peter 3:3. Whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of the plaiting the hair, which this would be called plaiting, plaiting the hair, the wearing of gold. Oops, I'm in trouble there.
Same here.
And or putting on of apparel, and that's the one that they quote as to you shouldn't be being overly dressed. But the reality is if that's the case, if you're going by those standards, you can't put on clothes either.
Right.
And so there's some things like there are some. Yes, I understand. I could do some things and overdo some things, makeup wise and different things from an aspect of I want you to be looking at me.
Yeah.
Still immodest.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a mindset.
Because what you're doing is you want the focus on me. And in Romans chapter 8, it says, this is the Message translation, it says, obsession with self in these matters is a dead end. Attention to God leads us out into the open, into a spacious, free life. Focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. Anyone completely absorbed in self ignores God, ends up thinking more about self than God.
Bottom line, I think, of all of this is aim higher.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Set a standard that, I'm not kidding you. When I see somebody who's dressed nice and nothing's showing, I can't, we preach, no, don't show your butt, don't show your belly, don't show your boobs, don't show your back. I think there was 5. Back, boobs, belly, bottom. Make up the next one. I don't know what that one is. But anyway, the point is...
the B you missed is a little higher than the belly.
boobs? I said boobs.
No, you didn't.
No, she did.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, okay.
But you can't say that word or something.
Bottom of
You
your
are
feet.
married.
Bottom of
Trying
your
to be
feet.
a little more classy. Go ahead.
Anyway, but the reality is you can't find. Then I've watched people that made an exception on a prom dress because they couldn't find it last minute. Had last minute, so we make that exception because I didn't prepare.
And these are people who say the same thing, though.
But my point is, it doesn't matter if it's in the church or it's in the world. It's crept into both. And the reality is, you're going to have to decide on, are you trying to get people focused on you? Yes, when I get ready in the morning, I'm not kidding you. I want to look nice. I want to put my best foot forward. I want to attract people in the fact of, I want you to want to have what I have. I want you to want the God that I serve. If people don't like you, they won't like your God. That's just truth. But if I only focus on self and don't focus on character, they're not going to like me just because I look okay.
Right.
And I think that's the key right there. You talked about character. Character is the core of it.
Right.
So if you build your character, and that stems back to a relationship with God when you aim higher, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're going right back to what Baal has done is pulled people away from God, so brings them low, right? So
Right.
now they have no knowledge of God, which means they have no knowledge of who they are in relationship to God, which takes away their confidence because they have no perception of how God sees them. So they build their own appearance.
And even I think, because a lot of girls are like, well, I feel like I don't even have a desire to dress that way. They look down on it because they're like, maybe they want to dress to please God, but they're like, but it's not fun. It's not pretty. They don't have that desire. What I think is so cool is when you have that relationship with God, when you build that, you desire to dress modestly, because then it brings confidence. It brings the things that you think that dressing immodestly will bring. It actually brings that when you dress modestly.
So here's a thought that hit me when we're talking about modesty and immodesty. Basically, what we're talking about is, because you'd mentioned sexuality before, they dress this way because they want to be sexy, right?
Right.
Well, instead, I mean, you've got a difference between sexy and stunning. You know, God will make something just look beautiful, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but a morning sunrise. You can look at a morning sunrise and it's stunning.
Yeah.
It's stunning. There's things about it. You can look around. I mean, the clouds are certain ways, and mornings when there's frost all over the grass and the trees and the leaves are showing. I mean, you just look and you just go in awe, and women can dress the same way. They have a way that they dress classy versus trashy. So there's stunning and there's sexy, and there's a difference. And stunning is what men would be attracted to.
Right.
And stunning, and it doesn't have to be head to toe.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's true, but I think everybody has stamped that this is what it is, and ultimately what it is a heart issue.
Right.
And I would say there's some things, because there is so many different opinions on what modesty looks like, and really it's take it to God, because he's the one who cares about your body mostly. Like, he's the one who most cares about what you look like. And can I read this too? So it's also in 1 Corinthians 6, but it's 13. I'm going to more focus on the second part. I'll read the whole thing, but the second part is mostly what I'm focusing on. So it says, you say food was made for the stomach and the stomach for food. This is true, though someday God will do away with both of them. But you can't say that our bodies were made for sexual immorality. They were made for the Lord, and the Lord cares about our bodies. He cares about your body. He cares about what you look like, what you dress like.
And yes, modesty is designed to protect you. And I think that's the key why modesty is such a big deal with God, because it's not designed to put you in a box or to keep you uncool.
Right.
Or where you can't, because like I said, I obviously brought up the prom dresses because that's a big one, just because it is very hard to find modesty in prom dresses. It just is. Yeah. It's just
because
that's
the business,
difficult that they are catering to a culture, and the culture doesn't want it.
Yeah, you know something funny that I just saw that goes right along with that is this woman was going into, like, it was just a meme, and she was like, I tried to find just a black, like I needed a black T-shirt for something or whatever. I went to Target and I'm looking in the women's section, and there's black bedazzled, there's black crop top, there's, cut down the back, there's shredded, there's all these styles, and they're all each $30-$40 a piece. And then you go to Menards. You go to Shields in the men's section, and there's 5 of them sitting right at the front for $2 a piece.
Yeah.
Yes. But the whole point is, I think modesty is designed to protect you, right back from the place of completing a picture. Again, not just any person who has any want to can complete a picture. They can't complete that picture on me. I'm fully clothed.
Right.
They're going to have to really use their imagination on some of those things. But the fact is, guys are sight motivated, and that's just how God made them. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're not broken. That's how they're made. And so if we know that's how they're made, why would we do something that would cause them to stumble?
Yeah.
Gavin and I mentioned this on one episode. And I want to see your reaction because she wasn't in that episode we talked about.
I don't know what you're talking about, so go ahead.
The Braveheart episode.
Oh my gosh, I
he
think I
got
know
married.
what you're.
So, because you're talking about completing a picture and how men complete a picture, and I said this before, but it's okay. We got you covered.
Don't die on us.
It's good to breathe.
Yep.
But in this Braveheart, we're talking about filling in the picture because Gavin and I mentioned that before, that men being sight motivated, and now that you brought out this example where you can see the flower and the Pac-Man, you can see the triangle. How filling in the blanks is what men do, and what I said was this. Is that there are some men, well, let me tell the story first, the Braveheart story, where he's already married this young girl in secret, right? So she's walking through the village, and one of the
English soldiers,
grungy old English soldiers, you remember what happened? He attacked her, and his first thing he did was lick her, right? And it's just disgusting. He's like, ugh, and he's licking her face. And the comment I made was this, is that you can't control who licks your face if you dress the way you dress. You can't, because you talked about filling in the canvas. You cannot control whether it's a 13-year-old or an 85-year-old. You cannot control what's going on inside that person. And you don't know.
Right.
So you can't control who's...
You can control the saliva on your skin. You can't control the saliva that comes out of their mouth.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And what you got to understand is God put a lot of work into you. He spent 9 months around working on you. And you're a treasure. So why would you just cheap?
Right.
Yep.
There's a soundbite right there.
And one other thing is, a lot of times people dress, like we said, to get the attention. But what you need to understand is you have God's attention all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like this verse, Psalms 139, 17 and 18 says, "How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of the sand, and when I wake up, you are still with me." He's always thinking about you. You don't need to be on some random guy's mind, some random girl's mind. You're on God's mind. And I would say that's so much better.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a cop who served 12 years on the force. He said this. He said, "I know from firsthand experience that there is a correlation between the higher levels of immodesty, whether that be immodest dress or lack of wisdom in where you go and who you go with. There is a correlation between the higher levels of immodesty and broken lives," from personal hand experience. So what does modesty do? It protects you. It is designed to protect you. I think it also prevents some things. We know the story of King David, right? He was in the wrong place. He wasn't supposed to be there, for one. But Bathsheba was taking a bath, and because he looked at her and he beheld her, he stayed there longer than he should have in a place he never was supposed to be. And that temptation caused him to take her, and obviously led to murder. It led to the baby dying. It led to adultery. It led to all kinds of things, all because of a woman who's just going about a daily routine of taking a bath.
Right.
So modesty is designed to prevent things from happening. And there's so many things I feel like, and this is totally wrong, but it is accurate, and it is what people act. When somebody gets raped, what is one of the number one things they ask?
Oh, yeah. They blame the woman.
How was she dressed?
Yeah.
And even though that's dead wrong, it doesn't matter how you're dressed. That's never the option that you get to do that. The fact is there are some people who have no self-control.
Right. We mentioned that before, too, on an episode Gavin and I did. We talked about the 3-second rule.
Yeah.
With guys, that I learned it actually
with any decision, really, but it especially stems for these.
Especially with guys who, because they're sight motivated, and especially in this world now where there are, sight things everywhere. Everywhere you look.
Billboards, TV, TikTok.
Everywhere.
So anybody you see, every third girl you see.
That's accurate,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. But you can have the first second, and nowadays it's like 1 second. No, anyway.
Yeah.
So the first
gosh.
second you see what goes on. The second second is making a decision. What am I going to do now? Am I going to continue to behold like David did? or am I going to look away? And the third second is you act on that decision. So the third second you should have acted on what you've already decided. There's shock. Okay, what did I just see? Not looking anymore. I mean, it's that fast. 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
In Romans 12:2 in the Message, it says, "Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God and you'll be changed from the inside out."
Aim higher.
It really is where you set your mind and where you set your focus. And I'll tell you this much, when you aim to please God in how you dress, in how you think, other people might not think it's as cool as what they're doing, but the reality is God will bring you the right people and you'll have the right relationships. Because there's a scripture Mom used to quote over us as kids, and that was that we would be delivered from wicked men and wicked women, for all men and all women have not faith. And, you can pray all these things, but if you're dressing for that culture, you're going to get in bed with that culture.
yeah.
And the culture that's out there, I don't want a guy who looked at me as a piece of meat, because if he looked at me as a piece of meat, he'll look at the next person as a piece of meat.
Right.
They don't change. And so it really comes down to a matter, if you honor God, I'm guarantee you, it does not matter. It doesn't mean you have to be ugly. It doesn't mean you can't be confident. It doesn't mean you can't be pretty. In fact, you can be stunning, way more stunning than someone who's showing their bees.
Right.
And then you'll end up with a better guy or a better girl,
Right.
because God honors that.
The scripture says that bad company corrupts good character. So even modesty is really about character, and if your character is showing through the bees, if you will, then you're gonna get a corrupted man.
Yeah.
And if you dress to glorify God because your body is His, what you put on, you want Him to look good. So, for example, to me, looking at, you girls in the studio, Amanda, Riley, Brandy, like even today at church, when you look at that and you're like, wow, these girls glorify God. Your bodies, you look at them and they glorify God.
Yeah.
You know whose father, who your father is, and so.
And
anyway.
and again, it goes back to culture, different things too, because I'm going to say the wrong culture, but it's across the ocean.
Greek?
I don't know. But
What?
they had to wear, they're fully clothed.
Oh, like Islam.
They can only show this much. They couldn't even show their ankles.
Right.
Showing the ankles would turn a guy on.
Right.
It doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much. Right.
That being said, we're not saying you have to be covered. Your hair to your tiptoes has to be covered.
Right,
That's
as
not
we've
what we're
Right,
saying.
but that's what I'm saying. My point is it's all, if you know your value, you will not get your value from somebody else.
Right.
And if, like you just said, you are created a treasure, and you really are, and that's half the battle in being confident, is knowing where your value is.
Something I feel like I need to touch on here just really quickly, and I feel like we're going to bounce around a little bit, but I know there are guys out there that are, they are looking for a godly woman. They want someone with character, and the things they're facing today are women who just show skin.
Right.
So they're because there's a big thing on social media that guys are just giving up on dating, and a lot of it is
Actually, it's the whole generation. It's
Right.
not just guys anymore.
They're giving up on dating?
on
Literally,
dating.
yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, they're either
Hookup culture is
hookup
big.
culture, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Or they
you
just
know,
completely
they just
given
give
up on the whole idea of
Yeah,
it
they-
because of how bad it is.
That's why a lot of guys are addicted to the gym, addicted to hunting,
porn.
or the P word. Yeah.
or addicted to yep. That's why, because there is no when they look at this woman, even inside of them, they know their heart will not safely trust in them, And so here's as far as the guys go, get yourself to church.
Yeah.
At least if a woman is there trying to dress modestly, she might be in the learning process.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't
know.
mean that's going to be your
Yeah, it doesn't
saving all.
guarantee.
No, it doesn't
It's a
guarantee.
little bit better than Starbucks, though. I'll tell you that. Guarantee you're not going to find a godly woman getting a soy milk latte.
You'll
and
find
extra
that
foam.
girl.
You might get one finding a friend. What is the one I like?
Vanilla sweet cream cold
Yeah,
brew.
yeah, exactly. The might, because I've been in there. But I'm taken, so you can't find me anyway. But the reality is, there are good people that go to Starbucks.
If they get a strawberry acai lemonade, be careful. I'll tell you that. Light ice, extra base is an extra warning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Gavin has learned the culture.
I'm gonna go get that now.
Yeah. Anyway.
So
How dare
anyway,
you.
back just modesty. Guys, you can start by, really getting. And men need to be back in church anyway.
Yeah, they do.
We need men leaders, and you're not going to be doing it right without God. You've got to have God, and you want to find a godly woman. Start in church. Because even if they've gotten saved and they're coming out of the world and they're learning how to dress, at least they're heading in the right direction. So anyway, I just had to say that for some guys out there. Maybe you're single, and you've given up on the whole dating thing. You don't have to date. Go to church. Get to
And
know
same with you women too. Like as a godly woman, I don't want a carnal man. I want someone who follows the Lord. I want someone, and not just follows, like loves the Lord and wants to do and dress and act how the Lord wants him to.
Well, it's even like that scripture says about the woman is a crown and glory of the man, or something like that. That is the kind of woman you want to be looking for. And if you are with, the kind of woman that isn't glorifying to God, your crown is pretty wretched.
Yeah.
Just say, it's like what that song by Tyson James is like.
They're talking about homemakers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
This one
love
for the
that song.
homemaker.
It's my favorite. I got Tanner, Sky, and Jake hooked, and Morgan hooked on that song. They
Have you
love
heard that
it.
song yet? The
Probably.
Homemakers?
But I
Oh,
don't
it's the
remember.
best.
I mean, none of that rings a bell to me.
It's amazing.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
a
what's
rap
the-
song,
I'm gonna
so
find
you-
the
Then
lyrics.
probably
'cause
not. I don't know that song.
I'm gonna
It's a
find the
rap song.
lyrics
Oh, it's
because there's
amazing.
something
I don't
really,
believe in
really
rapping
good.
unless it's Christmas presents.
Yeah, which one are you talking about? Oh my gosh.
That's the only rapping Mom will do all year.
Exactly.
Oh wait, why don't I just look up the title of the song? Homemakers,
Yeah,
because there's
that's
something. I
They're talking
can't
about, like,
spell.
It's, your girl is chill, or my girl is chill, your girl is drama. My girl is sober, your girl on marijuana. My girl content, and you're married to your mama. My girl,
I'm glad you have this memorized because I'm just getting to
and
it.
then it's like,
Oh, it doesn't even have the
or
lyrics.
it's like, my girl submit, and you're married to your mama. My girl's so content, man, your girl a prima donna or something like that. And then it's like,
Yeah.
my girl is modest, your girl, and it doesn't say it. It literally cuts it out. And then he's like, my girl the hottest, your girl's a mutt. My girl's
Wow, that's terrible.
Okay, but
he
it's
didn't say nothing, Mom.
It's like, and then it actually
you
starts
filled
out
in
like,
the blanks.
No, she said
It-
mutt.
yeah, that's all he
Yeah.
said. That's what he
Yeah, that's
said.
what I'm saying.
Did you
But
fill in the
it
other
actually
blank?
starts out like, your my girl conservative, your girl liberal, your girl, I don't know. It's like your girl on OnlyFans, my girl
Yeah,
ain't
that
sending
one. That one's
nudes.
the
Your
one
girl
looking-
can't cook, my girl can do it in the kitchen too, and then it goes on. It's
Yeah.
I love that song.
It's a really
It's
good.
amazing.
He punches woke culture right in the
It's
face with
literally
the
a
song.
punch
It's-
in the face, but it's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah.
But it makes it, the point I was trying to bring out in that song is that's showing the just the vast, and I think the album is called Black and White because it's just showing the vast difference between glory and dishonor.
Yeah. And I think sometimes because our culture is so immodest that this is, for me, maybe for you guys not, maybe this is how you punch them in the face. I'm not sure how you do this. But for me, I don't believe that being critical of where people are at because of culture will help.
Not to someone's face, for sure.
Just do it behind their back.
Well, if
you
they're
could
on
do it in
here,
a
they're
song.
looking for a change anyway. If they're going to
I
tune off,
understand.
they've
My
already
point
decided.
is this. You come to church and you'll find these people. Not all the time.
No, not all the time.
Everybody's struggling in different places, and it's not a matter of being like, for me, I'm like, you can love people where they're at on the way to where they're going. And that's kind of the goal is to, when I see someone who's dressed in these ways, or the song that you just said
Immodest.
in all their little colorful terms, all that says to me, and it screams to me of insecure, low self-esteem, no value. And that is where they're at. We have got a culture that's been made up of people who either they haven't had dads, so they're looking for daddy figures.
Right.
We've got a culture of people that are, I mean, the homes are broken, and their experience is, if you love me, that means we're doing something. That's the only way I know you love me.
Right.
And so that's all they know. And so for me, I'm like, moving forward, it's not a matter of just pointing fingers at people and saying, oh my gosh, you're woke, you're woke, you're woke, you're woke, you're woke. For me, it's looking at them and saying, oh my gosh, you're broke, you're broke, you're broke, you're broke, you're broke. Mm-hmm. And these are broken people that, yeah, I have changed. My value is not based on where they're at. So it's not that I'm superior to them.
Yeah.
But I'm winning.
Right.
And I can help you win.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, it's about loving them where they're at, because they won't listen to anything you have to say until they know that they're loved.
Yes. And
So get them to church.
Get them to church. Be an example in front of them.
Right. That's kind of the point of this episode. Don't go out and condemn your friend because they're doing this or whatever, but
Yes.
you fix you
You live
and
you.
aim higher.
Exactly.
Be the example.
Yeah. Aim higher.
You can only fix you.
Right. And that's the whole thing about why we're doing what we're doing. Help you to see what's going on so change can be made.
Yep.
But it starts with you.
Starts with you
So
and it ends
With-
now.
Hey, your girl a feminist, my girl traditional, my girl conservative, your girl a liberal, your girl got OnlyFans, my girl ain't sending news, your girl can't cook, my girl can do it in the kitchen too. Hey, this one for the homemakers. Hey, this one for the homemakers. Hey, dance if you